Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and it's time to get wealthy. You're going to learn exactly what you need to know and do to finally achieve the level of financial success you desire and you deserve. Black Americans spend more money in the beauty and cosmetics industry than any other segment. When I say more, I'm talking about 20% more. That is a huge number. So what can we do to have Black women in particular not only be consumers, but actually share in the opportunity of this thriving marketplace? Well, today we're going to have a conversation with someone who's doing just that, showing entrepreneurs how to build profitable beauty brands. So here are the three things that they don't want you to know about the beauty industry. Number one, it's an $8 billion, that's billion with the B, industry. Secondly, is that so many Black women are spending a significant amount of their dollars in this industry. And finally, there's still tremendous opportunity because there's still limited color ranges for us to take advantage of. And that's why I'm really, really excited to have this conversation with our guest today. Melody Bockelman is the owner of Private Label Industry Secrets. I think I've got no insider secrets. And I'm excited to have her on Get Wealthy today to have this conversation. Melody, welcome to Get Wealthy.
Oh, thank you so much for having me today, Deborah. I am thrilled to be talking about this. Some of the nuggets that you dropped are so accurate. We are the biggest consumers, and we only own 2.5% of the beauty brands in the U.S. And it needs to
wow, 2.5%. And that's, but before we really get into the conversation, one of the things I wanted us to start off with is really explaining exactly what you do. So when we say private label, let's define that for the audience. What is private label manufacturing?
Sure. So I'll my intro again a little bit, but so I own Private Label Insider as well as Trendset, which is another division of our company. And Private Label Insider started really as a blog because in our beauty industry, no one talks about how to create brands. And there's three different ways you can create a brand. Private label, otherwise known as white label in some parts of the world, is just putting a label on an already produced manufactured product. So they take the risk out of the product, meaning that they've done all the stability testing. It's not going to burn anyone. It's not going to kill anyone if they ingest it. And the labs have already created these formulas so entrepreneurs can get started really fast, really quick, just by putting their label on and being out the door. The other way people create products is custom manufacturing. So these are the formulations that you see, sometimes have patents on them, but sometimes they're just unique formula, whether it's lip, vitamins, supplements, doesn't matter. But it's custom to the brand founder. And then the third way, and I don't want to dismiss this way, is that people who actually make their own products at home and are looking forward to scaling their business as well. So those are the three ways that people can create business.
No, that's interesting. And then the other thing that I wanted us to kind of level set is, how did you get introduced to this whole private label manufacturing world? Where would we most likely see this private label and maybe not even understand what it is?
Oh, good, great question. So I went to Howard, and my family actually owns a manufacturing plant in South Texas. So instead of getting my MBA, I have an economics degree. Instead of getting my MBA, I decided to go work for my aunt, who started a manufacturing plant at 50. She now actually owns a subdivision as well down there. But I learned about private label when I was working for her. That was my MBA. And I realized that no one talks about it. So I wanted to just help more people. So I started Private Label Insider as a blog. Now, to your question, where do you actually see products that are private label? Everywhere. I can't call out brands, but Target has their own private label. We call them own stores. Oftentimes those are private labeled companies like manufacturers. So any store owned brand generally is private label. A lot of brands, even like traditional founder brands, are oftentimes created with private label products. It's just as a consumer, you may or may not realize that they are private label because they just look like other products on the shelves.
Oh, no, I'm so glad you said that because I want our audience to know, you know how sometimes you go into a Target and they have their own, like there may be Windex, but then Target has its own brand. That would be considered private label. Or, you know, you want to save a few bucks, so you're in the grocery store and you could have like Kellogg's Cheerios, or you could have the store brand Cheerios. So that would be private label, right? And in some cases, it could be the same manufacturer producing that product. Is that right?
In most cases, it is. Manufacturing is very limited in the US. So you'll have to think like if there's toothpaste, there's usually like 3 to 5 toothpaste manufacturers. And so they will make everybody's products, whether it's store brand.
Yeah, so here we are. It's what's funny about this though, Melody, is, you know, what I know about Black consumers specifically is we're very brand conscious. Yeah. And brands understand that, right? They know that we consider and equate a higher value to recognized brands. And typically what that means is we're going to pay more. And that's why we're such a coveted consumer. And so I'm so glad that you set the stage for this so that people could really understand that this isn't something foreign, but it's also something that you could do to enter into maybe a marketplace because you have an idea. So when we come back, I want to talk a little bit about that, and I want to set the stage for what we do on Get Wealthy. And so Get Wealthy, we talk about a framework of mindset, strategy, and execution being the way to produce a successful outcome. Melody, thank you so much for setting the stage for us around what it means to launch a business. Now I want to talk about private launching perhaps a beauty brand and what it would take for someone to have the right mindset, right? So when I say mindset is perhaps someone's listening to us right now and they're thinking, yes, that's exactly what I had on my mind. But, you know, maybe they're fearful. Maybe they don't have any idea of what something like this would cost. So let's talk about what is the mindset that you've seen entrepreneurs who have launched a successful private label brand do? How are they thinking when they approach an opportunity like this?
Yes, it's a great question. So there's definitely a few things that stop people from starting. And the biggest thing is they think they have to invest like $100,000 worth of inventory. And the truth of it is you really can start with like 100 to 500 units, which from a financial investment is probably $3,000 to $5,000, depending on the type of formula and packaging that you work with. And so one of the two things that are really important is understanding that you don't have to have a large investment, but you do have to have ongoing capital to invest in the marketing of your business. One of the most successful things that beauty brand owners that are making $1 million months or making, $1 million years, what they understand truly is that they are now digital marketers and they invest in online, education and understanding how to actually run their business online. And that is the biggest difference is they take off their product development hat and, I made this beautiful, lipstick and all this kind of stuff to, okay, how do I sell this? And now I need to learn how to become a digital marketer. Retail has changed so much, especially with COVID. So retail is no longer the direct path to millions, really. It's now selling direct to that consumer. So the most successful brand owners, they quickly adapt and understand like the product is part of the strategy of why it will be successful. But the bigger strategy is learning how to sell that product online and understanding how to then scale that business.
I love that. It's so interesting as someone who has a business that's online and virtual. One of the other changes in mindset that I had to make was that not to be afraid to be the sort of the initial brand ambassador, right? And so I think that mindset also relates to you're coming out of maybe a professional setting or industry, and now you're launching online. My question to you is it required that someone understand that they're going to have to promote their brand online? Or is that not true? Is there another way that you can market online and still get traction?
Um, well, there's a lot of, I will say this. So women are primarily 90% of my customers, and women generally in business take it a little bit more personal. There's a lot of beauty brands are actually owned by men and you never see them. So if you're not comfortable being the face of your brand, maybe you don't like being on TV, you don't want to do TikToks, you don't want to do whatever kind of, the latest marketing trend is, you have to have a strategy, right? We're not dancing, but you then have to have a strategy like, okay, if I'm not the face of the brand, who is? And that who is should be your ideal customers. So there's a lot of people, if you look at a brand called Sand and Sky, they are owned by two twin women who are probably now in their mid 40s, but they sell to 20-year-olds and you never see them. You see all of their ideal customers, their ambassadors, all of those kind of things, and they have wild success. So if you're someone that's like, I don't really want to be the face of my brand, that's fine. Just know that you're going to have to make the investment in these other people to be the face of your brand. And then equally, if you are kind of willing to be the face of your brand, you'll make a lot more money because we love to connect with founders. Like honestly,
that's
go ahead.
No, I mean, I really feel like for so many people, women specifically, that is a barrier and a mindset that they have about digital marketing. Is I'm private. I don't want. I guess I'm channeling what's going on in my own head, just so that you know. Like I don't want people in my business. If I gotta go online to make this product sell, then have at it. And so your point is everything is a trade-off, right? Like it's not like you have to be the face of the brand, but you need to have a strategy because digital marketing online is going to require, right, that you connect with those customers in a relevant way.
Right. Absolutely. And I think you just got to go into it strategically. A lot of times, and I've worked with, over 5,000 brands. So I've got this kind of on lock. A lot of times people don't really understand, that they get so caught up in the product and they don't understand we're building a business, you guys. And the beauty business is booming. Like even throughout the pandemic, brands that were struggling had wild success. And even still now going into the recession, beauty is one of the most recession-proof businesses to be in. So a lot of times women don't take it as serious as maybe as they should be, or they don't understand the real opportunity of how much money they can actually make in the beauty space. And so that's something I work daily with my clients on trying to shift for them.
No, I think that you make such a great point, and I believe that the pandemic had unintended consequences, right? And one of the reasons that beauty is thriving the way that it is because appearance has become even more, right, important. We're all on these videos and Zooms and cameras all day. And so as a result, you want to look a certain way, that this video like lasts into perpetuity at any moment. I know that's the way I feel. I don't know how the audience feels, but I know that, this stuff lasts into perpetuity. And so I would say that is another unintended opportunity that COVID created. And so I'm so excited that you've been talking a little bit about strategy, and that's exactly where we want to go next in our framework, mindset, strategy, execution. So folks, don't go anywhere because next we're going to talk about strategy and what are some of the things that you can do and what she's seen Melody has seen some of her most successful clients do to really be profitable and build a profitable beauty brand. So don't go anywhere, folks. We'll be right back.
Let's be honest, as successful women, we're crushing it. Maxed out 401k and Roth IRA? Check. Aggressive savings and investments? Check. Yet, the freedom our success was supposed to buy can leave us stuck on the six-figure hamster wheel, watching retirement slip further down the road. There's another way. Get coaching courses and community at wealthyu.com.
Welcome back to Get Wealthy, and we're getting wealthy, and we're getting a lot more knowledgeable of how you can build a successful beauty brand using private label manufacturing. My guest today is Melody Bockelman. She is the founder of Private Label Insider, and we've been chatting about how to build a profitable brand. We talked about mindset. Now, Melody, I want to dig a little deeper into some of those strategies that you alluded to when we were talking about mindset. I do think it's really interesting to just see the different ways that marketers are, strategies that marketers are using online. So when it comes to beauty brands, and I really want to speak to someone who is just getting started, right?
Okay.
So do I have to build an e-commerce site, and should I be on different platforms? If you could just give us some insight there.
Yeah. So a lot of times beauty brand owners don't really know where to start with it. So yes, you have to build an e-commerce site. Once you go online, you are an e-com business at that point. So you need to go online. I really strongly recommend Shopify. It's pretty easy. You can set it up yourself. Also, Amazon is still it's a big opportunity for a lot of brands. One thing that COVID did was there used to be a stigma in the beauty world of like, if you were on Amazon, you would not, bigger retailers wouldn't look at you because you're no longer considered prestige. COVID, however, took that wall down, and so now brands are almost outselling, their own direct-to-consumer retail or e-commerce business with Amazon sales because of how convenient and how well trained we are to purchase on Amazon, and we don't think anything about it. So when you're just getting started, be prepared to, one, understand the product is a small percentage of your business, of your brand. What really is important is your branding, your messaging, the problem you're solving in the marketplace. And then of course, knowing that you are now running an e-commerce business and you need to put that e-commerce mind on. A lot of beauty brand owners, it takes them a couple years to get that. And if you got it now in the beginning, you'd be way ahead of the game.
Well, one of the other insights that you shared in the previous segment around mindset was the difference between retail and e-commerce. And are you then conveying that if you were going to launch a beauty brand, that you would do it online as opposed to thinking about some brick or mortar, or, there are other avenues where you have a kiosk or that sort of thing? Talk to us a little bit about that strategy and where and how that plays out, e-commerce versus retail.
Yeah. So, and I'm glad you mentioned kiosks. So I met this young woman. She's 63 now, but when I met her, she was maybe late 50s, and she's gorgeous. And she was selling products at the kiosk in California, and she would maybe make $2,000 to $5,000 a month, but long hours, all those kind of things. Pandemic hit. And so she had to pivot. And not only that, she was in her 50s. So it was just kind of like, well, what do I really want to, do I want to keep lugging stuff to the mall every day? And the answer, of course, was no. So we worked together and she put in a lot of work. And for her, it was, again, that mindset of like shifting from, oh, retail is the only way I know, and people have to touch and feel the product, to let me learn to sell online. She now does consistent $10,000 to $15,000 a month, which is 3 times what she did at the mall. And she has so much free time. Like, her life is beautiful. She recently got married at 63. And I'm really proud of her taking those steps to make that adjustment. A lot of times retail, especially mall kiosks, is just not the direct way to make money, or the fastest or the smartest way to make money. I also want to mention retail. So go ahead.
Okay, go ahead.
No, I want to talk about retail.
I want to talk about retail. Absolutely.
Okay. Retail is one of those things where it used to be our dream to be in Target and Sephora and QVC and HSN. And I've managed brands in Ulta and QVC and Sephora and all those kind of things. And I can tell you guys, even brands that are in there today, their online sales outpace their retail sales all day long. If they're an independent or small owned brand, meaning someone like you or me, started the brand, not the L'Oreals of the world, but, just normal people started a brand. Here's the thing. If you want to go into retail, the retailer is looking for partnerships with brand owners who can drive traffic, who have a community, who have all these digital assets, a strong TikTok presence, a strong Instagram presence, a big email list. So you can't escape digital thinking that you're going to go run to Target or run to Sephora or Ulta and make sales, because guess what? No one knows you there, and you're just one of many, and you'll quickly be sent back your products. You won't make the kind of checks that you think you're going to make. So even if retail isn't your goal, your first goal should be to support those retail sales with your community and your audience.
And I believe what you're then saying in terms of strategy is building an online presence, building your own following, building your own email list is a way for you to, it's not like it's an either or, but starting there. And that's exactly the conversation I wanted to have with you, really having that kind of e-commerce mindset starting out is going to bode well for you in the long term.
Yep. Absolutely. You will get your feelings hurt and your bank account hurt if you go straight to retail without a big investment, without the ability to drive sales. You are basically at the mercy of your retail associate or the shopper in there to buy your products. And if it doesn't work out, guess what they do, guys? They send that product back, and you still have those financing loans to pay.
Yes, they send the returns. I want to talk about execution, because everything sounds great. Because the one of the things I wanted to ask you just around strategy really is, how do I differentiate myself, right? Like, there are thousands and thousands of beauty brands. In your experience with people who've been able to come out and differentiate themselves, what strategy did they use to do that quickly?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, Deborah, I've watched all of your videos, and I noticed you wear a lot of jewelry. You wear a big signature piece. And so that is what you're known for. And they're beautiful. And so where I love to start with people is like, what are you already known for? What do you love? Do you love signature jewelry? Do you love lashes? Do you love hair? Like, what are you already known for? It's something that you inherently do because you're passionate about it. It excites you. You just do it naturally. That's where we start. And the point of it is that you can differentiate yourself so quickly that way because it's authentic to you. And the marketplace is huge and wide open, and there's only one you. So being really clear of like, okay, I'm very passionate about lashes, or I'm very passionate about, lipsticks or glitter, whatever that is. And then we start with that. And then your differentiation comes from your own beautiful genius that's already inside of you. Another thought to keep in mind is that when we're creating a product, another point of differentiation is never necessarily the ingredients that are in the formulation. It's really the problem that we solve. So a lot of times people don't think through, they think, oh, my product's organic, or it's got aloe, it's got these ingredients, but that's great, but nobody's Googling that. They want to Google best eye under a cream for women over 40, right? They want to say, a sustainable beauty products. That's what Gen Z is interested in. So you really have to be really clear, not only, what do you love, but then who are you serving and what is the problem that you're solving? And then that is an opportunity to differentiate yourself. Yes.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say the marketplace is crowded, but we launch brands that would be considered competitors all the time, but they're not because they're so unique and different in their messaging.
Well, and then finally, something that you've said, and thank you so much for that authenticity piece. And you know what's funny is I went around and around and around whether or not I needed a necklace today. So there must be something hidden in my brain around this whole, my whole look and when I feel really comfortable and confident. So great insight. Maybe I need to start a statement jewelry line. I'm just kidding. I got enough on my plate already. But finally, in terms of strategy, the last question that I wanted to ask you about is your target, right? Yes. So you said a couple of things. That's, what is the problem? Right. And then, focusing on solving a problem and not all the kind of, external things like, oh, my brand packaging, people can get into fonts and graphics. I know I did when I first started my business. I thought that was so important in terms of the look and feel of something. You talked about problem, but I also want to talk about segmenting as a strategy for a problem for a specific person. Is that something that would be a good approach to launching a beauty brand?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a great point to bring up. So every demographic and every generation wants to feel like a product is made for them. So what some of you guys are sitting here thinking about, I want to make a skincare line for a 20-year-old to a 50-year-old. And I'm in the middle of those ages. And I can tell you, I have a 17-year-old daughter who deals with acne every day. We don't use the same product. And so we want to feel like a product is one made directly for us, for our problem, and priced appropriately. So to Deborah's point way in the beginning is that we associate quality and value, and someone who's in her 40s is not going to spend $10 on a lip gloss. She expects to pay $20 to $24. Otherwise, in her mind, it's not of high value, right? And it's super important to differentiate yourself with that, understanding who your demographic is and the type of product. People definitely want beauty products made just for them. And I think that's something that if you're wrestling with it in your own mind, you need to think about what kind of product or what kind of problem do I want to solve that I'm comfortable talking about for 3 years straight. Because that is how long it really takes to get solid marketplace saturation.
Good advice. Okay, so we've talked mindset.
Yep.
We've talked strategy, and goodness, you gave a lot of ideas. I hope our audience is taking notes. And by the way, I didn't mention your website. We're certainly going to put it up, but where can they're listening to all these conversations. Where can they go to learn more about your company and the work that you do, Melody?
Sure. So I have two sites. We're changing. We just launched a new one. I don't know if I even told you that. So Trendset, TRENDCET.com, and then privatelabelInsider.com. I have some news. Private Label Insider has been our primary site, but we're actually starting our own manufacturing plant, which I'm very excited about. So that will be
yeah. Breaking news. No one knows except for all. That's what we like to do on Get Wealthy. You heard it right here on Get Wealthy on Black Star Network, but don't go anywhere because we've been through mindset. We've been through strategy. Next, it's execution. What do you want to do? What do you need to do based on what we just said to do flawless execution and launch your beauty brand? Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back right here on Get Wealthy on Black Star Network.
We're all impacted by the culture, whether we know it or not. From politics to music and entertainment, it's a huge part of our lives, and we're going to talk about it every day right here on The Culture with me, Faraji Muhammad, only on the Black Star Network.
Welcome back, everyone. I hope you're enjoying our conversation about how you can launch a profitable beauty brand in this $8 billion industry, not just be a consumer, but also sharing the wealth, because that's exactly what we like to show you how to do on Get Wealthy. My conversation today is with Melody Bockelman, who is the owner and founder of Private Label Insider, and also just launched her new site, Trend Set. And Melody, thank you so much for all of these gems you've been dropping on us about what you need to do to build a profitable beauty brand. Next, we talked about mindset, talked about strategy. Now I want to talk about execution. Now in Wealthy You, I always say that knowledge is not power, right? Like, you've dropped a lot of gems on us, but if there's someone in this audience and they're saying, hey, I'm ready, I've had this idea in my mind, I'm ready to get started, let's talk about execution. So if you do want to start this brand, what's the first thing you need to do?
That's a great question. So the first thing you guys really need to do is understand your marketplace. So one of my favorite sayings is marketplace sets the value. So we need to kind of get a larger picture of what the opportunities are. So who are your competitors? What are the sizing that they're using of the products? Where are they selling? So we want to understand, what the marketplace is already used to in terms of packaging, in terms of size, in terms of pricing. And then, how many, if you're going into lipsticks, how many different colors do most of your competitors? If you're going into hair, what size of the product are we looking for? Because we want to understand our competitors and our marketplace so we can come out and create a product that's different. And so then once you can understand that, then you want to go ahead and we call that a competitive matrix, but you want to go ahead and create kind of a profile of the products that you're looking for, understanding what price point you want to retail it at, because your marketplace sets a value and they've already told you, like, hey, we expect lipstick at $18 or your product's at $12, because then you're able to have really intelligent conversations with manufacturers about, profit margins and what you're going to retail it for. So we understand, like, if we're calling manufacturers like, oh, this product will actually fit and I'll have a great profit margin, versus like, oh gosh, that product's really high, but I really want it because that's what we're going to do. I'll make $1 to $5 a unit. That's not something that I ever advocate for. I advocate for high profit margins all the time. So starting at the beginning of doing the research in your marketplace, and then calling manufacturers is the next move after that.
No, I absolutely love that. And so what you're saying is market research, right? We can have a great idea and we might think we've got the best idea for a product, but if the marketplace, if there's no demand, then we're not profitable. And, the other point that I wanted to, or the other insight that I wanted you to give us, and you've mentioned it quite a few times, and it is about margins and profit margin. Now, when we talked earlier about segments, right? Like the younger person who has maybe this kind of desire and doesn't have as much discretionary income, so they anticipate the price point being here, versus someone more mature who has more discretionary income and really equates price with value. How do I determine, once I've done my market research, how do I determine how much margin my particular segment can bear?
It's a great question. So it's wide. 60 to 70 is the bare minimum, right? But in skincare, my goodness, y'all, I don't want to shock you, but the cost to produce that expensive hyaluronic acid or vitamin C is $3 to $4, and we pay 40 to 70 to 90 to 100. So it depends on the category.
Wait a minute! Stop!
I know, guys. I'm sorry.
I'm in the wrong business, clearly. So are you telling me that, one of the things that I've been looking into, I know a lot of women are really into the whole serums, right? And those serums, I forget where I was, but just like not even like 6 ounces was $185. Are you telling me that the cost of production of those materials is like a couple of dollars, but they're selling them for $180?
Skincare is amazing. Yes, exactly what it is. And oftentimes, sometimes the packaging costs more than the actual product to produce. It depends on the actives in it. I know, don't get your feelings hurt. Listen, go buy a mid-range product, y'all. It's the same.
Oh my goodness. And are you telling me that the same manufacturers are making the products, but it's product positioning,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
That sets the value. And again, so often we equate something with high value if it's high cost. But I would say there's another element in there, Melody, and it goes back to the original conversation. And I think this is huge. I want our audience to get this, particularly around entrepreneurship. And it's the greater the problem, right, that you solve, the more you can charge for it.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
And so in that category that I just described around serums and vitamin C, it's anti-aging, right? And that segment, I can almost imagine is probably the most profitable segment to be in.
It is. Yeah, it is. And it's to your point, you're right, right? So it's cheaper to buy a $180 serum than it is to start the Botox process. Or maybe we have mixed feelings about that, or we don't want a facelift. So it's like, well, if I go buy this $180 magic serum, it's going to make me look younger and, prettier, and I don't have to get these shots. So it is the problem that you're solving. Anti-aging or pro-aging, right? 40 plus, 35 and plus is a huge market and a huge opportunity, but there's a lot of competition because of that. Now, if you're someone that's going to sell a product, maybe you want to be in hair, which is a very mature market, but nonetheless very extraordinarily profitable. Or you want to be in like even lipsticks or products that you're selling for Gen Z, where they've only got a smaller, discretionary cash to spend. So how do you then hit those same kind of margins? And I'll tell you guys a little secret. The secret is called getting your average order value up. So if you're selling lipsticks, maybe you're selling lip gloss to a 20-year-old you're just buying a $10 lipstick. But if you give her 3 for $30 or 4 for $30, your average cart value has gone up. So meaning that sale, the total was $30 when she checked out. She feels like she got a great deal, and you're both very profitable at that moment. So there's a lot of different, tricks to get around if you're not in an anti-aging market or you're not in a product that has enormous profit margins. It's definitely something that I'm happy to talk with you about if you're in that spot.
Yeah, and the other thing that I wanted to really touch on was cost of goods sold, right? Oh. So it's not just making the product, it's not just making the product, it's not just putting it online, but there is another cost, and that's the cost to get that to the customer, specifically when it comes to e-commerce. And so you've got to ship those packages, you got to think about returns. Right. Mm-hmm. So if I'm thinking about my an e-commerce store, is that why Amazon has now, because of COVID, really become somewhere that people want to have their products because of the efficiencies that they have in terms of the customer experience? But how much does that cost? How much of that cost do I absorb as the brand owner?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, there's a lot of infrastructure costs of running an e-commerce business. That's why you need to have great margins, because not only do you have the online costs, but then you've got to actually ship the product, and shipping is expensive. So, and maybe you're using a fulfillment center, or you've got a team that's actually doing your shipping, right? And so Amazon costs about 25% of each sale, but what you're buying is their efficiency. What you're buying is their already, marketplace that's there, because who doesn't have the Amazon app on their phone, right? So you have to make sure that when you're building your brand and when you're looking at your cost of goods, that you're building in that extra, let's say 25% for Amazon, and you're building in it's roughly 25, 30% if you're shipping yourself as well into your margins and into your business plan when you're getting started.
Yeah, and let me just define for the audience cost of goods sold. Cost of goods sold is sort of an accounting term. And if you ever sold anything, the bottom line is we've been talking about you launching a beauty brand. And one of the things that Melody shared with us that, the margin, like what it costs you to actually buy and brand that item, and then what you sell it for. Like if you were to look at that and you said, oh, I'm buying these lipsticks for $2 a piece, and I'm selling it for $10. So I got an $8 profit. Not so fast, because you have additional costs in there, and that's shipping and handling. when you see those costs in your, you buy something and you shipping and handling. And so all of that is what we're talking about, is in terms of being a profitable brand. And then the one of the other things that I wanted to make sure that we covered in this execution segment was really about how much inventory how much should I start with? And, if I'm going to have an e-commerce site, to test, and so that I don't end up with a lot of inventory that doesn't sell.
Yeah, that's a great question. And the reality is, you guys, this inventory has an expiration date in our world, right? We're having consumable products, so usually it's a 2-year shelf life. So here's my answer. It depends. If you are brand new, it depends. If you're brand new and you don't have an audience, then starting out with 100 to 250 units is safe. So you may spend more with your per unit cost on your initial run. So I would recommend you base your pricing off of that 1,000 unit pricing or 2,500 unit pricing, but only purchase 100 to 250 units. A lot of that in our first initial batch is testing. It's sending out to, influencers to create the content that you need to build your brand. So a lot of that first 100, 250 units will be, half of it will be gone just for creating the content for your business. Now, if you're someone that knows how to sell online, you have a digital presence, you have an audience. If Deborah wanted to show up and drop a signature necklace line tomorrow, she's got people that would buy from her. So with someone like that, I would say, well, it depends on how big your email list and your social media is, but maybe 1% of your total list size, of your audience size. And then you can test it and grow from there. What you have to be mindful of, you guys, if you're one of those products that takes off, is your reorder time with your manufacturer, so you can keep up sales, because people love to say, I sold out, but really it can damage a startup's business significantly if it's not a stage sellout, if that makes any sense.
No, that's great. That's great advice, because what I want, this is a huge industry. Certainly we're talking about getting wealthy on Get Wealthy. But the reason why we bring experts on like Melody Bockelman to give you the inside secrets to private labeling really is so that you understand what the potential pitfalls are. And that's where I want to end this segment with, Melody, what are some potential pitfalls to avoid if you're going to launch a beauty brand?
Yeah, that's great. So on the product development side, you guys, don't create a product that's too big. So if you see everyone doing a facial serum for 1 ounce or maybe 2 ounces, don't go any bigger than that. Marketplace sets a value. You have to be mindful of the reorder rate. So if you decide I'm going to be a high volume and create a 4 ounce facial serum, well, guess what? Your clients are not going to reorder for 90 days. So we want to make sure that we are in line with the marketplace on our offering of sizes. I want to make sure that when you're getting ready to launch, that you've done the pre-work of launch, meaning that you've created an audience, that you have built an email list to at least 1,000 people before you actually launch your business. What a lot of people don't know is when you pull back the curtain behind an e-commerce business is that your Instagram that you see and the TikTok that you see, those posts only drive about 5% of a brand's business. But the real income comes from ads, and it comes from your email list. Email converts at about 30%. And so having 1,000 people on your list will ensure that, in theory, you should be able to get 300 sales, which would be fantastic for most startup brands. So those are kind of the things you need to be mindful of. A lot of people get excited and they think the product, and then they launch and friends and family buy, then they don't have sales anymore. And then they come and work with me, and we go through this process of building out their platforms and their e-commerce, business as well together. So those are the things I would look for.
Yeah, that's good. It really is positioning yourself, right, to be profitable is your point. Love, mindset, strategy, execution. Hope you have taken some notes and are writing this down. When we come back, however, it's our Analyze, Optimize, Maximize segment. And what I want Melody to share with you is someone who actually executed on this, some examples of businesses that have executed on this and are now and will be a great example of what you need to do to be successful. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
Welcome back, everyone. It's time for Analyze, Optimize, Maximize. So now we're going to put Melody on the hot seat. Just kidding, Melody. No hot seat. But this is really about synthesizing all of the information that we've had today. And I think a great way of doing that is to share with the audience an example of someone who took your framework, if you will, and launched and executed a profitable brand. You can tell us who that brand is if you want, or, if you just have an example of an archetype that you see who's able to really execute on what you've been able to do flawlessly.
Sure. Yeah.
Let's start with analyzing what they did first.
Analyzing. All right. Well, analyze it. Let me talk to you guys about this one brand that I've worked with. They're actually based out of Maryland. I'm not going to cry. You guys, this is the power of having a brand. So I met them in 2016. They were creating a product at home. They still do in-house manufacturing, meaning they're not outsourcing manufacturing. They're shipping everything. When I met them in 2016, they were doing $10,000 a month in sales, which is really good for most brands. They understood the basics of it. And so we put in some structure for them, and they were quickly able to go from $10,000 months to $100,000 months by building their email list, by, keeping manufacturing in-house, by doing all of the things that I teach all of our clients, right? And so they were able to go from $100,000 months. Then, you guys, they went to $300,000 months by turning on ads. So I know, let me finish the story. It's very impactful to me and very personal to me. So then they, now they have a brand that's making $300,000 months. The father who's helped start this brand, they're a family of 5. So they've got 5 children, a mom and a dad. And the dad has end-stage kidney failure. And he also got COVID at the beginning of the year, and he thought he was going to die. He did have a big last Christmas party, and then he has been in a coma since January. And he told me before he went into a coma that he wasn't worried about dying because his family is making a very healthy monthly income and can sustain themselves even after he is gone. And that is the impact and the power of having your own brand, you guys, is that if life happens to us, because life happens to all of us, we leave something real that keeps our families going. So that's one of my favorite stories. And they have one product still. It's a hair product. It's got very healthy margins, and they do really, really well with it.
Wow. And you know what, Melody, thank you so much, because the point of Get Wealthy is to just share that it's more than money, right? That what we're talking about, legacy. And that's the difference between just, as you said at the top of the show, Melanie, I've been so focused myself on earning an income and creating income, I haven't really focused on turning what that means in terms of wealth, that income into wealth and legacy. And so the mindset shift, right, on Get Wealthy is really about making that shift from that earner income mindset to that owner, right, wealth mindset. And that's what you do when you build a business. You build a legacy. And far too many Black businesses are not profitable. The average revenues are $25,000 a year. And that is why what you have said is so, so important. So if we were to analyze and optimize and show how they were so successful, Melody. So the first thing, though, is they already had a brand. Was that part of it, that you were able to leverage off of that brand? And so how did you optimize? How did they optimize what they already had?
So that's a great question. They were sitting, so they had a brand. They were sitting on something they knew was magical, right? It was a custom formulation they make in-house. They have a brand, and they came to me to do what most brand owners want to do, is throw everything away and start over. But part of their story was that, hey, I make this at home, and it's a handmade brand, and it's a family-owned brand. So rather than totally rebranding them, I told them to actually go deeper into it. And one of the things that they first had to do was get over their fear of being seen, as we spoke earlier about that. Every time they would do a Facebook Live, they'd make $1,000. And so it was just learning to, learn those muscles of being okay with being seen and being the brand founder and making that level, of success when you do a Facebook Live, because who doesn't want to go on Facebook and make $1,000, right? So that was a big one.
that money is a motivator, man. You see those dollars coming in, man, that'll make you want to get online. Melody Bockelman, I must say, this has just been a fascinating conversation, and the work that you're doing and helping beauty brands, and not just beauty brands, but certainly the education that you're giving from holistically, just from a marketing and e-commerce, could be applied to any industry. I really want to thank you for coming on Get Wealthy today, and just share with our audience again how they can get in touch with you through your social media platforms, and also inquire about the work that you're doing in private labeling.
Yeah, and thank you for having me, Deborah. I've enjoyed this conversation. So you guys, if you want to connect, my website is privatelabelInsider.com or trendset.com. I'm on Instagram at BeautyBizExpert. You can also find me on TikTok at Melody BeautyBiz as well. Dropping gems all the time around that. If you're someone that has launched a brand, we work with brands that are either looking to get started or that have launched and need to, scale their business as well. So, Deborah, thank you again for having me on today.
Thanks so much. Well, Melody Bockelman from Private Label Insider, she's given us a wealth of information today. But don't go anywhere. When we come back, the 3 takeaways from today's show. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Put 10 in here?
10, and you don't come out till you die. And you eat him, you hoop 10.
Oh my God.
So what? I'm Deborah Owens. I hope you've been enjoying this conversation about how you can build a profitable beauty business brand. And here are the 3 takeaways from today's show. One is, one of the ways you could get to market faster really is through private label manufacturing. And then secondly, wasn't it amazing that you could have really lower startup costs? So it's not like you need hundreds of thousands of dollars. And then finally, it's a way that you can have higher profit margins, all that and more. So thank you so much for coming, for watching Get Wealthy today. And hopefully you are learning how you can finally achieve the level of financial success you desire and you deserve. I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, host of Get Wealthy, only on Black Star Network.